yesterday during the groups where MC defeated Jaedong 3-1, but now it's after what, a terror of a day by Jaedong on his birthday. He's looking to get a $7,000 happy birthday present.
And I really do believe in momentum. I believe in mindset. I think that's extremely important in StarCraft. And Jaedong, he's been sitting, he's been watching, he's been resting, he's been practicing. And when he wasn't doing those things, he was going 9-1 against some of the best players to be offered. And I think that's as good of a warm-up as you can possibly ask for a guy like MC, who also in that time has been kicking some ass. He actually sat down and commentated with us. A big shout to MC. You guys check him out on Twitter, follow him. But he predicted a 4-2 win, which is quite bold. He gave himself 2 games to lose at that best of 7, which I thought was generous. But he feels confident, and the way he's been playing, I think that's deservedly so. Well,
and we are officially live in game number 1. I'm really going to hope, since I don't see a producer in front of me, that we are on the game screen right now. And if not, you're just going to watch us kind of awkwardly look at the...
Or are we not?
Not at this point. I think they are trying to get it pumped to the room, but the sound guy just disappeared.
So I can still cuss. That's good.
So, yeah. So we are live, game number 1, and 4-2. Yeah. What do you think? You think that that's a humble MC?
That's humble MC, for sure. I think he goes into most series telling himself he's going to win 4-0, 3-0, or whatever it is. 2-0 if it's a best of 3. But for me personally, I think having seen the way he plays, but I think this is going to be really long-winded, but the 2 a.m., I'm sorry, it's part of the package that comes to me. I look at the Seahawks versus Atlanta Falcons, and I think the Seahawks are the quote-unquote underdog. They're not quite the glitz and glamour that is Atlanta, the number 1 seed over there, but I think they match up really well. Pocket passer against our pass rush, and our defense very good. Our running game very strong against them. That is why I'm being long-winded about it, because I think MC matches up very well with Jaedong. I think Jaedong is having a tough time with that 3-base crack that hits prior to the Broodlords, and I think that is pretty much what MC's bread and butter is. We don't see a whole lot of mega late game, including motherships with 5 or 6 bases and war prisms. It's more of the like, yeah, I've got a 4th base, but it's only because I didn't know what else to do with those 400 minerals. And that is the worst analogy for this.
Wow, that was
feeling
intense.
the love.
I mean, you started talking about football, and my brain just turned off. So
I felt you waiting for me to finish with that part of it, but I'm not going to lie, guys.
Okay.
I'm really excited for the Seahawks playing this Sunday. I cried.
That's still playoffs, right?
It is the playoffs. It's the match before the conference finals, and I think they're going to beat the Falcons.
When's the commercial bowl?
The commercial bowl is the Super Bowl. It'll be a couple weeks after that.
Okay. All right. Well, game number 1 in a best of 7, $7,000 for first place.
I think it's $7,500. I didn't want to correct you. That's what they originally
well, you know what?
listed.
The big check up there says $7,000.
Well, then you're right. Or
I don't know.
Someone made a big mistake. That's not the. I mean,
it's like cost us $500 to make the big check.
Yeah,
so
no. It actually does too. That's like the funny part. It's like $250 or $300.
So we just deducted that out of the overall winnings because we thought you'd like the big check. I mean, how many big checks do you think MC and Jaedong have?
God. Jaedong and MC. That's actually a fantastic question.
It is.
You know what, guys? I challenge you. It's a couple of clicks, so it's actually not that big of a deal. But go to Wikipedia and find out how much money MC has won and how much Jaedong has won. Because on that stage, I think we're looking at 2 guys that are halfway to $1 million.
If halfway?
At least
with
MC.
Jaedong?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. The money they won in Broodlord wasn't quite as much.
Okay, fair enough.
There's
if
periods
a lot
of
money was being made off of like
they were laughing at StarCraft too. They were like, "What did you win for that tournament?" Early on in GSL, it was like $85,000 for first place. They were like, "Oh, what? Who'd you beat in the finals?"
How'd that work out?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Well, let's take a look at this game as we are about 5 minutes into game number 1. MC gave himself a 4-2. I think Jaedong, like you said, he's looked focused the entire time. He had to get his 3rd hatchery up, now just getting his 2 gases at the natural. But a lot of drones coming out at this point. One thing I just want to note about some of the great stuff we've seen out of Jaedong today is, I feel like his little Roach assassin squads have been, one of the most entertaining Zerg things I've gotten a chance to see in a while. I'm not going to sit here and say the best I've ever seen in a while, but in the latter stages of Wings of Liberty, where obviously we do see a very stale, even PvZ, that changed a lot with Jaedong in not only ZvZ, but also in PvZ. And I would love to see if that's something that he can utilize here. Obviously, Entomb Valley is not the map where it really works out that way. But look for that in the best of 7 series as we go forward. And you'd mentioned a little bit about his multitasking, and that's something I'm just going to keep a close eye on because he was taxing every player that he played, including MC, that he opened up the match with on day one.
And honestly, that's one of the ways a player of that caliber is able to just outclass some of these other players is with that multitask and micro. It gets to the point where they're like, look, I'm doing more things than you, and unless you catch me completely off guard, you're probably not going to be able to win out there. So MC is going to, well, I want to finish off that point actually. And to be honest, Starcraft is such a game that you can fall in love with because it never ceases to impress. I mean, after 2.5, we're moving on 3 years now in April, Starcraft 2 is still having people come in that say, no, here's my take on it, Rain. Here's my my speed. Here's my multitask, Jaedong. Here's my raw power, Flash. And it changes the way we regard the game. After 3 years, I saw it happen time and time again in Brood War, but it still impresses me in StarCraft 2, and that is the beauty that is Blizzard StarCraft. Thank you to them for making it. I know that's really cheesy to like, oh, thank you, Blizzard, but I'm sorry. My entire life's like pretty much based on it, so I'm gushing a little bit. And,
of course, Heart of the Swarm right around the corner. We're all very excited about that, and we look at these as sort of the, you know, I mean, these are the glory tournaments right here. Like, this is going to be it as we go into a new era, and my God, look at this, a 4th hatchery. Already? 9 minutes going into this one while he drops his Roach War in his Infestation Pit. Lair's obviously done already. That's a pretty hyper-accelerated Zerg right there. But you know what? Honestly, MC's third was rather quick as well.
Is there an Overlord peeking in on the gases at that third? There is.
Overlord does have a great vision.
Wonderful.
Of both those
and that
gases.
Overlord, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Zerg player at home and you're at whatever league, regard that Overlord very importantly because it is. If you don't see those gases, you can almost blind counter either just a raw gateway timing, in which case it hits a lot faster, or probably more likely the more established build, which is the 6, well, not 6, but anywhere between 7 and 9 gateway blink stalker attack on this map. It's so powerful. But if you do see those 2 gases, it's more often not going to be that. It's more standard play.
Got the robotics bay going down along with 3 additional gateways. The observer is out and it sees the 4-minute. Wow.
10 minutes. Sorry to cut you off, buddy.
No, that's great, man. I mean, I remember we were like, wow, 14-minute hive, and then it's like, wow, 13-minute, and wow, 10-minute. Honestly, as we go into HOTS, like a lot of the stuff is post-lair, so I would expect to see hives coming faster and faster until
Vipers, swarm hosts.
People open up no Marines, tank first, and
yeah, man. They talked about it. They were like, we're looking for a way to buff mech, and they went across the board with that one.
Oh,
so
man.
We'll see how that sits. But, of course, we're talking about doing an Inside the Game this coming Tuesday. It's obviously not official, but, ladies and gentlemen, if you are getting excited about the return of the media that is StarCraft 2, I know that Pulse from NASL is this Sunday, and they'll talk about stuff like that. And then we want to get back to Inside the Game, so that's where we'll talk about it.
MC making his first little push, clearing out that little group of Zerglings that was sitting there. Double.
Sharing airspace here.
Yep. Double observer checking things out.
You can see the shit out of those
with
investors.
The third one right there. He's got the triangulated. Oh, no, he's going to go ahead and take one out. Does he see the second one?
Of course he does. He's
I
Jaedong.
think he does. Yeah, absolutely.
But he chooses to be merciful, Weed. That's what happens right here.
Yeah, maybe he pretends like he doesn't see it. I don't know.
You idiot. You're being redundant with your observers. Let me help you play this correctly.
Jaedong already putting down some spine crawlers there, and I think ultimately, you know, with that 8 gases that he now occupies, he can do that hyper-accelerated push to Broodlords. Do we have Greater Spire coming in yet? No, the first Corruptors are coming out, but my guess is once he hits that next set of gas, he might go that way. Actually, he started his upgrades. This happened last time, if you remember. He delayed that just a little bit to make sure that he could get his +2 started.
Well, he gets the Corruptors up and muscles up. This is actually something really intelligent. A lot of the builds the Protoss do are designed to hit just before Broodlords. Unfortunately for him, I wonder if he sees the 4th, because seeing the 4th would key him in that a faster Greater Spire would be better. But it's just a matter of moments. As we can see, the Greater Spire does go up now, so it's not like we're talking about minutes and minutes later. We're talking about seconds.
Adrenal Gland coming. We've got another base over here for Jaedong, starting to move his forces out. Ling's checking for various aspects of the base. And let's just take a look at the army supply, considering that these guys are teching like mad. 80 and 106, but that number for Jaedong is increasing. There's the observer. Oh,
he wants to fight before Broodlords. He wants to trade out these Lings. I like this. I like this. He's going to use up his energy. And he's going to try to get the Corruptors in there, but the Corruptors are getting isolated. They're going to get focused down. That's actually very expensive. He needs those for the Colossus and killing, you know, 1 or 2 Colossus here. Not the biggest of deals. One gets a misrally. It's a big mistake. Meanwhile, the energy, though, from those investors doing a beautiful job of cutting apart this Protoss army.
It is working, but as the Infested Terrans start to run out, it's Defender's advantage here, as a lot of these Zealots are warped in. My God.
Wow.
I still can't even believe it. I mean, was it a trade? Yeah, absolutely. But Jaedong already up to 171 supply.
Wow.
You take a look at that army, 5578.
It's hard to call a trade when he won. I mean, it's like not a win, but it's almost like a TVZ win in the sense where, yes, his units were dying, but his Zerglings were dying for Stalkers, for Sentries, for Zealots. And the Colossus are gone from the Corruptors.
The Colossus that came over actually broke the 2 force fields that were holding back a few of the other wings as well. Yeah,
that's bad.
So that opened it up. I mean, had it happened even a few seconds before, I think Jaedong would have outright won that.
Yeah.
But the misrallied little Colossus
now,
there
here's
did
something to note,
Yes, sir.
There's actually a Warp Prism moving around the back
yes,
door, and the Zerg is fully maxed, so nothing is coming out. Is there stack defense in here? We haven't taken a look in a little bit. Natural no, and I think the main no. I think basically Jaedong's got to make a choice, and I think he needs to come home. As close as he is to fighting right here, he needs to send the Lings back, but he's not going to. He's going to lose supply and then remake units. That's a gutsy choice. Oh,
and there is a very, very offensive blink by those Stalkers. They're going to get 1, 2 Broodlords, but completely demolished by those Lings. Pulled back a little bit so they can save a few of those Broodlords, but I think he has to pull us back. Meanwhile, pretty much everything dead over here. I don't know if drones were evacuated or not. Keeping my eye on what is going on right here. Broodlord still staying alive, and he loses quite a bit. Finally burrows and gets in there.
That was the wrong choice. I think you lose. I think you just come home. You recognize you've been outmaneuvered, and you say, okay, I would have liked to have attacked there, but because of your Warp Prism and my lack of preparation, I go home. As it is, he's still up 50 supply, and we've got a 4-base Protoss that's rebuilding units as opposed to building on an army. Another Colossus will stab up more Stalkers. And he does have the fleet beacon, so a mothership should begin fairly soon.
Yeah. We haven't seen it quite yet.
It's right there.
Where it started?
It is in the main. Oh, you mean the mothership? I thought you meant the fleet beacon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, fleet beacon's there. But he's going to shove out. He's got a lot of roaches, but there's force fields here. There's a Colossus. I mean, MC's army control should take care of this fairly easily.
Now he is going to make an attack here on the front. We got some Zerglings come around. That would have been great to see those swirl around to the back, but he is going to get in here. We talked about that little roach hit squad here, and this is pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things. If he can maybe take out some crucial tech, and he doesn't actually take it into the main. Oh, that's because we've got this going on as well. Greater Spire suddenly going to get focused down, and wow, I mean, what looked like a very, very offensive posture for Jaedong, where he was going to be hard, where it was going to be tough for MC to do something. I mean, MC's turning this around.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's going to get +3.
Saving the upgrade there is a really big deal, and unfortunately it wasn't a target fire. If it was a target fire, that would be murder. It's just the tail end of that upgrade completing. But I feel like that's small potatoes. I think Jaedong's way behind.
Yep.
I think that he's stuck on roaches, and actually he's got a second. No, he doesn't have a second spire. Those were being queued up before. MC, if he loses this army, would put himself back on even foot, and I think that'd be a huge mistake. But using these Zealots here to just go after a defenseless base is huge. I think, like I said earlier, I want to reiterate now, Jaedong now is the kind of Zerg that's very much so control and micro-oriented. Jaedong later will have that control and micro, but he'll have the stacked defenses that is unique to StarCraft 2. And Brood War, you didn't do that.
Right.
Not inside your bases anyways.
And with the spine crawlers that we've got sitting here, normally, if he didn't go hyper accelerated, I feel like we would have seen many, many more spine crawlers. Yeah. It's something that we were seeing out of Jaedong, but not in this case. MC does reinforce with a few additional cannons. He now has his High Templar going into Archon, and that mothership overcome, 50% done right now, so that's going to be a force. And you know, this is the point where you're doing this to deal with the Brood Lords that are not coming for a while because that Spire is sitting there. So as you mentioned, 200, sure, or almost 200, but not with the most substantial gun army. Also, what are the upgrades at? So +3 carapace, but no missile upgrades at all for those roaches.
I think he's got at least 2 or 3 melee, which is pretty good. But like you said, he's mostly on a roach army right now, so with that lack of attack upgrade, he's really feeling it there. Both players are maxed. This Warp Prism's going to show up, and fortunately for Jaedong, it's only got 4 Zealots in it. If it had a warping capability, it would be really bad, but it's going to have warping capabilities. Units are being lost here. However, I think that's really not the big deal. The big deal is that this army's not going to stop mowing over that Zerg force.
Yeah, from the back, we got the roaches, but that's not going to mean anything. Meanwhile, inside, double warping of Zealots. He's evacuating those drones that are going to get hit hard by those Archons as they come through. Ow.